and welcome to Entrepreneurs of Africa. I'm your host Sara Abdelrahman, and today we have David Yohan here with us from First Class Limousines and Taxis. Hi and welcome to Entrepreneurs of Africa. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, like where do you come from, hobbies, interests?
Originally I was born in Ethiopia, lived in Sudan, came to Australia about 20 years ago, and interests, sport, friends, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Is there any specific type of sports you want to tell us about?
Mostly basketball, yeah.
Basketball,
Yeah.
So what interested you, someone from that kind of background, what interested you in starting a business?
Starting a business, honestly, wanting to have the freedom to be able to do more things outside of work. Work is not everything, but it's a major part of life, and I wanted to basically I didn't want to wake up and be told what time to go to work, what time to finish. That was one aspect of it, and the other was just have a go. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the whole freedom of doing your business the way you want it and how you want it, I think that plays a major role in entrepreneurship. So was starting a business always part of the plan for you, or was it something was a spontaneous thing you decided to take a turn for?
It was pretty spontaneous. I fell into this type of work about 12 years ago, and it was by chance. I was finished school one day, and a man approached me and asked me if I wanted to work, and took his details down, and several weeks later I gave him a call and just went into it, and I've been in the industry for like I was saying, over 12 years, and then beginning of this year decided to start my own business.
So why did you specifically choose the limousine, taxi, high class kind of business?
Well, I've done it for a long time. I started off in limousines, and then I went into protector driving, which is I worked directly for the government. So I had the privilege to drive the last 3-4 prime ministers that we had. So I directly drove for the government, and then I've driven the Queen and so on. So in my field, you wouldn't know it, but I'm one of the best in Australia as far as protector driving, which is a different type of driving, and I've got a lot of experience in it, and I'm a lot younger than the other limousine drivers, so I thought start early, and I think it's a good opportunity for me.
I think also, with that kind of experience, driving really important people and whatnot, I think that also would give, your clients a sense of security and trust if they knew that kind of history. So what services, we know it's limousines and taxis, but is there any side or extra kind of services you provide?
Yeah, we do tours, so tour guides. We do executive protection and protector driving, which is more so not your day-to-day from getting from one place to another, just normal transfers. This involves, depending on the principal, so the person who we may be transporting, involves a number of things. What kind of protection? So whether it be Queensland Police, Federal Police, in close security with the person. We also do coaches, so buses, transfers for groups, weddings, and there's heaps.
Sounds like it. So how do you manage the business? You started it on your own, I suppose, and so do you manage it and run everything on your own?
I do. Started off with just me, and now have a team of 13.
Oh wow!
So 13 drivers working with me.
Yeah. So the 13 you've hired, are they people that you've had to train, or how did the choosing, your employees work?
At this stage, most of them had experience in the industry, and actually some of them, in the beginning, taught me the ropes.
Oh.
So I'm very selective of the person I may choose to work with, because it's a team, really. So they're experienced people.
Yeah. So what's the biggest sort of characteristic or experience that you look for when you choose your workers?
Honesty is one, and doing a little bit more than what you're required, at least. It's our car is our office, basically. This is how I see it. So honesty, being punctual, being professional, and being courteous. So yeah.
So what were some hurdles or challenges? Because obviously, it's an awesome business, but not all businesses start off smoothly. So did you face any hurdles or challenges starting it at first?
Yep. A lot of the hurdles I overcome when I first started. When I first started in the industry, I was like 18, straight out of school, and I just fell into it. And having, let's say, a young limo driver that comes from a different background where it's not normal in that industry, there were a lot of hurdles from other persons in the industry, even clientele that I was picking up.
Wow.
So a lot of that I've overcome, but as far as the business side of it, I made an educated move. So I didn't just wake up and say, yeah, I'm gonna start the business. So I looked into it, I researched, did a lot of research, what I had to do, best way to go about it, easiest way to go about it, and I learnt from other people. I asked. I wasn't ashamed or embarrassed to say, hey, I don't know this. Do you think maybe you can show me, or can you teach me? And I'm learning as I go. My own teammates, my own workers that I work alongside, even though they work with me and for my business and company, they're teaching me. They're much, some of them in their 60s. So there's a lot that I can learn from them.
So I think it's just a matter of teamwork and doing your research, extensive research, before taking that step. So where did you find the motivation? Were there days where you said, okay, I can't do this? Or how did you continue to go until you got to this stage here?
To starting the business?
To carrying it on.
Carrying it on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't lie. There's certain days where I've got other priorities that I have to spread myself to be able to do as well. So there are some difficulties, but the great thing is, when I'm working for myself, I'm able to guide my time instead of being told what to do. So what pushes me, what motivates me is my family. So working in the hope so I can provide and look after my family.
Absolutely.
And also outside of work with some of the young people I may know, it's ultimately to be able to give other people an opportunity to also find employment, because it was hard for me. I was just lucky when I was young to fall into this. I had other dreams that I was pushing towards, and then family situation happened where I had to work straight away. So certain things in life can be tough. So having an opportunity to assist someone else to find employment particularly in our communities, that's a big drive for me.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely inspiring and also motivational for us to hear as well. So how do you maintain, speaking of having family and family obligations, how do you maintain that, good work, personal, family life balance?
I think I'm the worst person to ask for that. I try to, but I always find myself rushing, trying to do some things in my life. So I'm not there yet. So I'm learning, and I hope I get to a stage where I can sit back and enjoy life a little bit more instead of running around.
Yeah, just watch it all happen. So how many limousines and taxis do you run with?
We've got 13 limousines, no taxis, but we call it corporate cars.
Corporate cars, yeah.
Yep. So at this stage, we've got 13 limousines in the company, but I'm also, as we're speaking, establishing pretty much a rival to Uber.
Yeah.
So it'll be coming out in a few months' time.
Okay.
So it's called the corporate taxi.
Yeah.
So it's for a niche market, more so on the corporate side. So 13 at the moment. When this starts, it's in the hope of it will be more of a franchise. Very similar to Uber, just guided a little bit differently.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed it goes well.
Yeah. So, do you rent or do you buy the vehicles that you work with?
I own two. Own two. The other 9 are leased for tax purposes. It's much more sensible and to lease. You can claim different things.
Yeah, so
when you're leasing.
Considering that you're leasing most of them, and we all know how expensive it is to rent limousines for our formals and whatnot.
Yeah.
So how do you manage the expenses?
How do I manage the expenses?
Yeah.
Get bums on seats.
Yeah.
That's ultimately it. The limousine businesses it's different than the taxi. So with taxis, you can just basically hail a taxi and you've got one, or you call a taxi. With limousines, it has to be booked.
Yeah.
So it's called touting. If I can't just go pick up someone without a reservation or booking being made. So it's really getting people to call or email or contact us and making a booking, and then managing the expenses is you need business. Without bums on seats, can't pay the bills.
So speaking of that, how do you attract your clients, and what's your biggest marketing tool?
Biggest marketing tool so far to this date has been referrals, word of mouth. I haven't started the marketing yet, but we're growing, and it's simply by word of mouth. Provide a little bit others, like with the service, it's more we engage in different ways with our clientele. As human nature, you want to be connected to something, so it's no different in business as well. It's not just transaction and you leave. It's not like a one-way street. I want your money, you leave. That's not the way I do business. That's not the way I hope First Class does business. So it's engaging and making the clientele, our customers, our passengers feel that they're a part of the business. So one way is minimum of 10% of every dollar that comes into the business I donate back to the basketball program that I run.
That's interesting. So what's some advice you'd give to new business owners that are facing those financial challenges or those first big hurdles, and how do you think they can overcome that?
I guess I can't speak for everyone, but for me, the things that have worked for me has been asking, trying to educate yourself, and there's things that I've missed when I was trying to educate myself I didn't know about. So there's a lot of things out there that are that are established to help small businesses start up, maintain and be sustainable. So research, do a lot of research, why you want to do it. And one of the major things is, hey, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, get out. You know, like you really have one life. You don't want to be doing a job for 30 years and then be like, I hate this, you know. So do something that you like. But the catch is, something that you like may not pay the bills as well. So you've got that balancing act. Well, okay, what are you good at? What's going to pay the bills? What do you like to do? Balancing all of that together, then figure out, okay, these are my options, A, B, C, D, whatever it may be. And then look into it further, research, educate, speak to people. Speak to wise people, you know. You may speak to people who are fairly educated, but big difference between wisdom and a person that's educated. Yeah. So don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah, I think that's a really honest piece of advice as well. You know, for having to say that what you do maybe isn't the best for you. So I think that's a pretty honest thing to say. So does first class limousines and taxis provide service throughout all of Brisbane, or what are the limits to your locations that you work within?
Well, pretty much southeast of Queensland.
Southeast.
So at this stage, as far north as Harvey Bay, as far south as Coolangatta, on the border pretty much of Queensland. But because I've been in this for such a long time, I have other service providers where I can outsource. So I serve the whole nation basically. So if our clientele, so let's say I'm taking someone to the airport. At the other end, when they get off, they'll go to the airport, jump on the plane. At the other end, when they get off, we cater for them. So first class looks to pretty much do everything. So if they're going from here to the airport, they travel with first class. Let's say they get off at Sydney, they got to go from off the airport at Sydney to a location. I have all that covered for them. I'll have a driver there with their name waiting for them, all sorted. To the point where sometimes it's not just transport, it's also accommodation. It's certain things for different clientele. So we cater to the person, we cater to the clientele, we meet their needs.
And I think that's a huge and really impressive expansion to go all that way with your clients. So what's the main sort of clients that you do get from your service?
Corporates.
Yep.
So that can entail a number of different. We have a lot of fly in, fly out. So a lot of miners. With everything you have your bread and butter. Yeah, you're constant. So a lot of corporates. So going off the airport to the offices, from offices to offices, whatever it may be. You fly in, fly out, and also just signed a deal with 2 major airlines. So they're first class, business class travellers. So everyone in their first class, business class will get a first class transport as well. So
that's huge.
yeah.
That's really good. So do you have any interesting stories you can tell us about, travelling with a passenger?
There's a lot. Some probably not G-rated that I can say. And well, when I first fell into it, I'll tell you how I started. Finished school, and we were walking in the city. 2 friends went in to get something to eat, and I was sitting outside. And then I was approached by a man who sat next to me, started talking to me and said, hey, I'm about to start a business, would you like a job? At that time I had different goals, so I played a lot of basketball and I was hoping to make that my career. And he gave me his business card, and I just thought, being young, I thought this guy was a little bit cuckoo in a way, coming up to someone you don't know and saying, hey, do you want to work for me? So I took the card anyway. A couple of weeks later, my mum fell sick, so I had to work. So I gave the guy a call He said, yep, come in for an interview. And he then told me what the business was and basically shook my hand and said, you've got the job, here's the key to the car, here's a mobile phone, I'll give you a call when I need you, just have the mobile phone with you.
Wow.
He told me what level to go down and to pick up the car. So I said, okay. I went to the level and then I thought about it and I was like, I didn't ask him what car. And being young, I didn't know and stuff, so I came out, and then the big car park, underground car park in the city. So I had this key and I'm walking around trying to find out what car. I'm trying to open the car, and from a distance I saw lights turn on and I thought, it's pretty far away, I wonder if that is the car. So I pressed it again and the lights went on again, so I knew it was the car. When I went over to look at the car, I've never seen a car like it. And looking, going, holy Jesus, like, is this the car? Yeah, it is the car. I jump in. This car was pimping. This car, it was the first Chrysler to come into Australia at the time.
Wow.
But the guy had done it up in a way where it looked like a Bentley.
Mm.
So I jumped into this car and I'm thinking, whoa, okay, now this is serious. You know, I've got a job. Okay, so I went home. Picked up my mum and I thought, hey, you know, I'm going to take her to lunch. She came, said, Ma, let's go, I've got a job. She looked at the car and she's like, did you steal it? I said, no, Ma, I got a job.
Mm.
She's like, well, my mum was hesitant to get in the car.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm serious. I got my mobile phone, blah, blah, blah. She's like, you're not doing drugs. I said, no, Mum, I'm not, I swear. So I took her to lunch. But then I was driving to school in this car.
Yeah.
I swear, back then I looked like a drug dealer. I had a nice car. I was going to school, and pretty much everyone thought I didn't have a job until that. So that's how I fell into the business. But the real twist of the story was I never got a phone call for like 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, what's happening here? So I'm trying to call the guy, I'm calling, and it just goes straight into answering machine, like to his message. Thinking, oh man, like, what do I do? Maybe, you know, I did steal the car, I don't know what's going on. I'm calling, nothing. And next thing, front page Courier Mail. The federal police were looking for, this is a true story,
Oh my goodness.
were looking for this guy.
Yeah.
He was a pimp. Apparently he made like $2 million in like a year of his limo business was a cover-up, so they were searching for him. So I had to call up and say, hey, I've got his car.
Mm.
But then so I did that, and I had to applied for another limo company. So yeah, I've got heaps of stories in the industry.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
A bit comedic. So how do you attract those kind of clients, and how do you know?
How do I don't know if anyone attracts those type of clients. Particularly the pimp. I don't want to attract that. But high-end stuff, high-end clientele, they're the ones that I guess bigger money.
Mm-hmm.
They have bigger money, so they tend to use your services a bit more and so on. But, you know, end of the day, no matter how much money someone has, they're always as normal as other people. They have problems, they have, you know, their needs, you know, sometimes may differ, or their wants differ, their needs don't. But because of what I do, I specialise in different type of driving. I've driven many. I've driven Kanye West. I've driven AC/DC, Celine Dion. I've driven many throughout the years, and that circle, they refer friends. So I've had clientele. Oh, you looked after my boy, such and such. Yeah, cool. You know, and so on and so on. But also because I drive certain people in different embassies. When you get in with one, and if countries that I guess work together, they refer, because at the end of the day, with these different embassies as such, they still work with the federal police.
Absolutely.
So I'm more friends with the federal police than I am with, because I've worked with some of them for decades, so I get to know them really well. So I'm the first person they call, because they know they can trust what they need will be done.
Absolutely. So, can I add a question in that you don't have to answer, but we'll cut it out if you don't want to answer it. So how do you, considering that you do, you do service for big clients like that, what are your service rates? So when it comes to
service rates?
Yeah.
It all differs. I try to charge everyone the same. You'll find other limo companies, as soon as you mention some words, the rates go up.
Yeah.
You mention wedding, it doubles, triples,
Yeah.
because people, they know people have to get it, you know. But that's, in my view, that's dishonesty. If you're doing the same service, you shouldn't charge any more. Formals, such and such, like things like that. Your rate is your rate. It shouldn't differ from person to person. I find that the same as discriminating. Yeah, just because you have more money, I shouldn't charge you more than someone else who doesn't have it. So So my rates are, like, it differs. So you've got point to point. So from A to B. So if you want to go, it doesn't matter where, from A to B. You've got that. You've got as directed, which is a driver at your disposal for as long as you want. I've done jobs where I've 40 hours stint, to the point where I was staying at the hotel with the client. That was Kanye West. Didn't move for 40 hours. Didn't move for 40 hours at all. So we were just chilling. So you've got point to point, you've got as directed, you've got tour guides. So it just depends on the hours. It depends the areas you're in. So it all differs. So I can't really honestly tell you.
Straight rate.
Yeah, straight rate. It's not like in a taxi where you've got a meter. We don't have meters. Yeah.
Okay. Closing in the interview. So how can clients contact you for any business inquiries or to hire?
Okay. Different ways. So we've got 1300 first class. So it's 1300 1 252 77.
Yeah.
They can also send an email to admin@firstclasstransfers.com. That's firstclasstransfers with a s.com. Or they can jump on the website www.first1stclasstransfers.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yohan.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us for another interview on Entrepreneurs of Africa, and we'll see you in next month's